Hey everybody, welcome to Philosophy 101,000. Um, I'm going to let you in on my new idea for Crito tomorrow. I'm not sure exactly how well I'm going to be able to integrate this into the lecture, but on my last reading of the second half of Crito, here's the thing that really stood out to me that I'd like to find a way to fit in tomorrow. Um, so, as is obvious from the reading, Socrates thinks that it would be unjust for him to break out of jail because it is unjust to break an agreement. And the agreement, of course, is between him and the laws of the city. So it is unjust for him to break an agreement. So the thing to notice, or the thing that really stuck out for me on this last reading, is that the laws themselves are not the source of justice. We already know from the first half of the dialogue that there's something like a cosmic justice that is operative in the sense that dire harm can only come to you through your own unjust action, which harms the most valuable part of yourself, namely your soul. So this cosmic justice is in place whether there are laws or not. Okay, so the laws are not the source of justice. Socrates is bound to adhere to the rule of law because he, Socrates, has entered into an agreement with the laws. So it's an extra legal sense of justice that causes Socrates to remain in jail because the rule of law requires that he do so. So that's kind of the first component of what stuck out to me is just, it's obvious in the text, but it really jumped out at me that the laws themselves are not the source of justice. Justice prevails even without human or civic laws. The other part of this idea that really stuck with me is that although Socrates was free to leave the city, this is, of course, an important part of this argument about implicit consent, right? If you benefit from the rule of law and you choose not to leave the city, then you are bound to suffer any costs that follow from the rule of law. And so Socrates was free to leave, and he didn't. And because he didn't, he's bound to accept the consequences that come with the rule of law. But what's fascinating about this is that even though he's free to leave, as long as he stays, the relationship between him and the laws of Athens is not a relationship between equals. And Plato really emphasizes this. He argues that, or he has Socrates argue, that Socrates and the laws are not on an even level as far as right is concerned. And he compares this to the relationship between a child and a parent, or between a child and all of his ancestors. And he talks about how, because of this unequal relationship of right, you are subject to a certain sort of ill treatment in such a relationship without having the right to retaliate. So Socrates has indeed been wronged by the justice system. There's no question about that. It's just that because of the unequal relationship in which he stands with the justice system, he's not entitled to return the favor, as it were. Now, let me slow down and tell you what this made me think about. I was trying to come up with examples of relations that we enter into freely, or that we at least decide to remain in, but that as long as we remain in the relation, we are subject to a certain amount of abuse that we have to take because the relationship is not between equals. And it seems to me a good spot to start here is to think about what it is to be a member of a team vis-a-vis your coach. Now, you could decide to walk away from the team at any time, right? That's your prerogative. If you choose not to be on the team anymore, you can just walk away. But so long as you're on the team, it seems to me you have to accept something like, um, abuse might be too strong a term. That's certainly a loaded term. But you have to accept a certain amount of unfairness from the coach. Like, let's say that the coach thinks that you did something wrong, even though you didn't. And so the coach requires you to do some sprints or some push-ups or something like that. Now, you're within your rights to gently persuade the coach that the coach is mistaken. But because the coach is the coach, there's certain ways of handling that interaction that are just not on the menu for you. It just would be inappropriate. It would be dishonorable for you to talk back to your coach to such an extent that it undermines the authority that is properly his or hers. Now, it seems to me that some such relationship is what Socrates has in mind when it comes to the relationship between the citizen and the legal order that allows the city to function. So, although you are free to leave, so long as you stay, you have to be willing to tolerate this kind of unequal's not even strong enough. You are really you're not on the same level as the state to which you belong. And to act as if you were on the same level, to want to meet the state eye to eye, as it were, and raise your complaints against it, is to already be behaving in an obnoxious or inappropriate way. That seems to be what Socrates is having the laws argue here. Right. So again, just to recap, the basic idea here is, first of all, that it's not the laws that are the source of justice. It's rather Socrates can't escape from jail because he, Socrates, has entered into a covenant with the laws, and to break an agreement like that would be unjust. And then secondly, that once you've entered into this compact with the laws, it's not as if it's an equal contract, you on one side and the laws on the other. As long as you continue to live in the society, it's much more analogous to the relationship between a child and a parent, or between, say, a team member and a coach. And this requires submitting to a certain amount of ill treatment, because not to submit to it would be to really undermine the hierarchical structure that allows a good team, or a good city in this case, to function. All right, see you guys tomorrow.